Welcome to the mix, it's Gen-XYZ, we're X to Z, we blend, dissect society. No topics out of bounds, 3 generations deep, we're breaking new ground.
Welcome to Gen-XYZ. I am Jordan Brown. I am 23 years old.
And I am Greg Brown. I'm 54 years old, and I am Jordan's father.
And I'm Asya McLean, 32 years old, and DJ's wife, who sits to my right.
And I'm DJ. I'm 44 years old, pushing 45, and I am Asya's husband once again.
So you're her husband, and she's your wife.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And this is my dad.
And
sometimes it only goes one way.
Yeah, this is great. Well, Jordan is going to go ahead and host for us tonight. This is great. Jordan, What's our topic tonight? What do you want to talk about?
Our topic today is just about our individual childhoods and growing up from like elementary school age into high school and just kind of the things that we dealt with, where we lived. Yeah, just issues with our peers or good things.
Whatever comes up.
Whatever comes up.
So what was your earliest memory then?
So I was born in 2000. So
Y2K.
I was Y2K. I beat the odds. I was born in the summer, and so I started like elementary school 2007-ish. I grew up in a wealthier town in Washington, right outside of Seattle. So that definitely played a part in a lot of my growing up in a little bubble. Where I grew up, Washington is very woodsy. And it was always woodsy wherever we lived. And we'd always play with the neighborhood kids and always were outside building things, building forts. My dad's a single dad, so it was just me and my brother at that house when I wasn't at my mom's. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. I remember our school was like right up the street, pretty safe neighborhood, honestly. It was before like all the tech and everything kind of moved into the east side of Seattle. So it was a little different. And I got to see all that change as I got older, which was really cool. And be able to be like, oh, that used to be woods. Now it's apartment buildings.
Any run-ins with the law?
Oh, yeah. When I was 7 years old, we had like a little neighborhood crew, all different ages, like freshman year of high school down to me being in like second grade. And we were just like little shitheads and always were messing with things. And then one time, one of our neighbor friends, Taylor, he had like a gorilla mask or something, and it was nighttime, and my dad wasn't paying attention to me. And
yeah, I didn't know where she was.
Yeah. And we kind of lived on like a kind of main road for our town. And it was nighttime, and Taylor stood underneath our streetlight out there and just like kept scaring cars because it was just like this giant like gorilla thing.
Looked like a Sasquatch.
Yeah, looked like Sasquatch. Eventually the police were called, and I was like probably 8 years old. I hid behind a tree. Dad really taught me well. But yeah, we all kind of scattered, and then but we all like didn't hide very well. We were still like all right by the street. But yeah, the police gets on his little thing and he's like, I see you all like behind the trees.
On his PA.
Yeah, like he was like, I see all of you.
Yeah.
Like, and we're little kids. But I think like growing up in the town that I grew up with, in like, we always said, and through high school, like the police were so bored because there wasn't a lot of like major crimes because it was like a richer neighborhood and pretty safe. So there was so many times throughout like my whole growing up into high school where there was like constant, very casual run-ins with the police. Yeah, that was just like my story with the police. But yeah, growing up was really fun. My dad grew up in the same area, actually. So
yeah, Pine Lake.
Yeah, how was it a couple of years earlier?
Yeah, I want a visual of your neighborhood and kind of what that looked like.
Yeah,
I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, this will blow your mind. So we literally had dirt roads still in areas up there. We grew up in, to me, it was amazing. It was the best. We had motorcycles. My sister had a horse. we would ride up to a country store, and it literally had a post out front to tie your horse up to. No lie. And it was probably built in the 1800s, I would assume, or early 1900s. So it had been there forever to service. It was all farming country where I grew up. It was all cattle farm, like dairy farms. And then it started to develop where people wanted to be out there and move away from the city, from Seattle. And they kept going further and further out, ended up where we are. But we explored, and we could go for miles through the woods and everything and never see another house or anything. Like, it was just, we felt like it was my brothers and I, my younger brothers and I, we were out in the woods every day. Like, we lived in the woods way more than at home. Especially in the summer, sun up till sundown. We're out there building forts, getting hurt, getting in fights, then making up again, then building another fort, demolishing that fort, getting another fight, whatever it was that we did. It was definitely different than it is now. It also could be our age at the time. You think that everything's massive and grand and big, but really maybe the house was only a half a mile away from me, but it felt like it'd take a day to get there. Maybe perspective for when you're little, everything seems bigger. So, but I truly do believe, because we had no police. There was no police. They were contracted to King County. So King County Sheriff would show up in our area once in a week. So you could ride your motorcycles down the road, out in the main roads. There was never, you just felt free. I didn't feel like we ever had to worry about anything. And we grew up with all the same friends that I had since kindergarten, all the way till I graduated. We all grew up in our neighborhoods together. We had different neighborhoods. We would get on our bicycles and ride over and then hang in that neighborhood for the whole day with all those friends from school. And then ride to another neighborhood and hang out there for the next day or whatever it was. But our time was easy. It was easy. We didn't have any technology, none. We had rotary phones, and we just started getting push button phones, where you doot. Before it was. I mean, honestly,
I remember those.
Yeah.
I remember both.
Yeah, I grew up with rotary phone, and so we didn't have any technology. In fact, Atari came out in the late 70s. Does that sound about right, DJ?
Yeah, something around there.
Yeah, when we had Space Invaders. Remember? Yeah.
Because mid-'80s was when Nintendo came out.
Yeah. So we had Atari. That was the neatest, greatest thing ever. All the friends would come over. We'd take turns playing Atari. Got a foosball table. So I'm an expert foosball player. And so that's how it was for us. It was a different time than these last 40 plus years.
Yeah.
I'm curious about DJ's perspective now, because you're all three kind of from the same area.
Yeah.
My childhood is different than yours, but definitely some similarities. But DJ, how was yours?
Well, until the age of 3, I grew up in maybe it was 700 to 900 square foot house, locally here. Well, my dad was, working at Boeing and taking the bus there and doing that whole thing. I remember, I don't remember. My mom tells me he'd come home from work every day and he'd need pepperoni pizza with olives and a Coca-Cola, because that would get rid of his headache from the stress of work and the travel and whatnot. But after a certain point of time, he ended up starting his own business. So we were able to move to a much nicer house. I'd say, like upper middle class, something of that nature. But it was in a neighborhood, which was awesome, because on our street right there, there were 4 boys, and we were all, I was older by about 3 years, and they were all the same age, but we instantly formed a little posse, and we'd close the roads and make ramps to skate on, and we get
And
into
jump with your bikes.
bikes, and when rollerblades came out, then we moved to those. And yeah, we kind of had a little neighborhood gang. I guess I was definitely the leader of that gang, because up in the attic at the friend's house, it had, which was our clubhouse, it had my name and it said president.
And look at you now.
Very, yeah, not president.
No, you're president.
But yeah, it was very interesting. It was really the best place to grow up, just because there were so many little trails to cut through and little parks, and so we'd run around, blowing things up, shooting things with our slingshots, and we were near the water, so we could go down to the beach and light G.I. Joes on fire, which was always a good time. And then I'd freeze them in a block of ice in their stretched form, and I'd say, "Look at this one," and
Yeah.
it was really a great childhood. I wish I could give our future kids the same sort of experience. I'm not really sure that it exists like that anymore. We'd come home when the street lights would come on. That was kind of the general rule for all the parents. But I guess I learned that if I stood with my back to the street light and I kicked it really hard, it would go back out for a while.
Oh, nice.
So we'd push the
So you
snooze
had
button.
time
Yeah, exactly.
before dinner.
I think growing up, outside of Seattle, a lot of people don't realize how dense and woodsy it actually is. Even now, you can just go for so long, following random paths or cutting your own paths. And I remember doing that a ton growing up. But same stuff. We used to destroy so many things, and I don't know if kids do that anymore. Do they
Destroy?
go? Yeah. I feel we caused
Cut down ferns and stuff.
blow things up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Our kids because I feel now neighbors and just how close everyone is, people just call the police over everything. But growing up, it was just just kids doing stuff, you know?
My friend actually had some property, at least some bordering property. I'm not really sure whose property it was, but we literally made an Ewok village. We'd cut down trees, find a triangle, and nail them all up, and then put down one level, and then make a ladder out of the trees and make another level, and then we make a bridge, and then we make another one, and it was literally like an Ewok village. That was really fun until he chopped one down and it fell on my head, and I had this big flap of skin that opened up, and I was bleeding everywhere, and he was crying because we were 10, and anyhow.
I killed you.
Yeah, that's what he thought, but I'm still here.
Okay, Ozia, what about yours?
So I grew up in Germany, northwestern part of Germany at the Dutch border, which that was always a good idea. But
Why was that a good idea?
because weed was always legal in Holland, and I think probably smoked my first joint being 13.
Oh,
Didn't hurt,
and
right?
drinking alcohol.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point, you can drink beer at age 16. So obviously you get your hands on stuff probably around 13 pretty easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, my best friends in Germany were the kids of my parents' best friends. So I had Sarah and Jana, which I would always hang out with, playing in the yard or at their houses, riding the bikes around, playing with the kids in their neighborhoods. I also lived on a main street, so there weren't really kids around me. The parallel street was, a slow speed zone, so there were a few more kids playing out there, but those were not my friends. So yeah, my best friends lived about 6-7 minutes by bike, and they lived in neighborhoods, which was great. And that's why I also went to school in their district. And so same as you guys or Jordan and DJ did, you meet after school or you do homework and then meet up to just roller skate and play, softball and those things in the big parking lots between the houses, and go home when the lights turn on. Also, we were super fortunate, and a village is a little easier. You have a public pool, and then tennis and soccer and horses. So
Mini golf.
You always had a friend that was into one or the other thing. So I had friends with horses. I would go out there horseback riding with them. had friends, to play tennis with or soccer. So it was all over the place, and obviously a lot of outside time. And I feel like you had way more freedom, like you guys say, where your parents would trust you. It's like, hey, Mom, I'm going to see Sarah's. And she's like, yeah, come back for dinner. And that was it. Like no phone, no tracking. You're just gone.
Yeah, my folks didn't see us for days at a time.
Well, I think that's a good point of like no phones. Like
Yeah.
no one, you couldn't know where we were. You
Ours
know
was
what I
done by a
mean?
whistle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Our
Yeah.
mom would whistle so loud that you could be a mile plus away and hear the whistle and know we had to go home.
That's the same with us.
Yeah, it was
all
a
the
whistle.
moms had their own call.
Yeah.
My mom, I think she had a whistle, and then my buddy Brian, his mom would say, Brian, and we could hear it from like 2 miles away. Our ears were tuned to that noise.
You got to go home.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And he'd leave and say, darn it, and then we'd stay.
Yeah.
And-
No, I think like I grew up with cell phones, like just the flip switch phones were when I was like in elementary school, but I didn't have one until like way later in I think like middle school almost, and then neither did my brother.
But that's just because I gave it
But
to
yeah,
you guys
like-
then because you
Well, you needed to
You-
know where we were, like
because you guys sometimes would walk from school.
well, and we would go, to this place and this place and this place and this place. But I think like that is a big thing that like all three of you have growing up was like no phones like that and like no just like instant like where are you or tracking you or whatever. And like I didn't get that until middle school, like that instant, getting in trouble or figuring out where you were, like friends getting in trouble and stuff like that. And Yeah.
It's so weird that problems really started then.
yeah.
Because, okay, my mom knew I was at Sarah, so if something came up, she called the house phone of Sarah's house, and then, can you tell Asya X, Y, and Z? And so that's all that happened. It was between the parents to do the communicating, and because between the kids to just have
Play.
the fun, right?
Yeah.
But later, I feel like that's when kids just get mean.
So what?
Over
So
the
technology
phones?
now is ruined, you think?
Well, I
no,
feel like-
I think there's a benefit and I think there's
Yes,
cons. It's like
but
with
I
everything.
was saying, if you're a kid and you have a problem with your friend, you're going to be like, hey, I really thought that was mean of you
Mhm.
to do. And you'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. And
Yeah.
that was it.
You kind of
Now it's
solve it
all-
right then and there.
Yeah, but
like-
later on, it just went a little more passive aggressive and
Mhm.
reading into things, and then less face to face figuring out a problem compared to,
Yeah. No, I agree.
Now you have to be an attorney because you watch what you do because it's going to be posted online, and you like think ahead about your actions a lot more.
I feel
maybe.
so bad for like kids in middle school right now or like high school even. Like iPhone came out when I was 5th grade, I think. But parents had it, like none of us got it. And we still all had, and then I remember in middle school, we started to get smartphones, but it was like the Android or the Googles. And then like a couple kids had iPhones. And then it was like probably middle of middle school where everyone was like kind of getting, because Instagram came out. Instagram came out when I was in middle school. And I vividly remember it. I vividly remember like being at the Starbucks in our town after school and everyone's like friending each other and downloading it. And then, I think like I was able to, connect with a lot of people in my grade and grades above me and below me because of it, which was cool. And then like kind of your friend group started to expand because of it. And then it's easier to like connect. It's easier to be like, hey, we're doing this after school, we're doing this on Saturday, whatever. So
I feel like we have to squeeze one more topic in, though, computers. Because before there was phones and everything, I remember we had obviously my dad had a computer to do his paperwork and Excel and whatnot. But back in Germany, if you had internet, I remember this vividly, you had to turn on the switch in the basement so the line is connected so you don't run out of data. So when I wanted to, because my aunt already lived in California and I lived in Germany, so I communicated with her through email. So I would run down in the basement, turn on the internet switch, run up, check my email, basically copy and paste it into Word, run back down, turn the switch off, read her email, reply to her email, run back down, turn the switch on, send the email, and that was the start of the internet communication for me.
Mhm.
Of the World Wide Web.
Yes. And then later on, when you had more data to use, that's when kind of things like, what was it called? MySpace.
And AOL.
Yeah,
And
MySpace.
AOL.
AOL, yeah.
And MSN Messenger.
Mhm.
And ICQ.
Facebook too, like Facebook
No,
messaging.
Way later.
See, that was for me.
There
Like,
we had something called Study VZ or School VZ.
This in Germany.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't have that.
But all your schools, it's kind of like a mini Facebook.
oh whoa.
How Facebook started, I guess. When you were, whatever, high school, they had their platform, and then college had their platform, and you befriend your friends there, and you communicate there.
That's really
and
cool.
then chat rooms, and that
Like,
turned
really
into
cool.
yeah, and
That
that turned
is.
into Facebook. So that's how we would communicate before
Yeah.
phones came out, because you would message each other and had groups, and upload pictures and plan little birthday parties on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, before phones took over, and then you had writing text messages, which was how many signs? Like 360 signs,
Yeah.
and you had to squeeze it all
Mhm.
together. That was all good for me. Like when it was more, I don't know, when it got a little more complicated is when you had enough time to call people, free text messages. That's when, I don't know, I feel like there's just communication issues, and
Yeah.
you got your friends misunderstood you more, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's when it really got complicated, because before it was pretty simple for me, at least.
Yeah. I think also it being said, grew up primarily teenager in 70s and 80s.
I grew up, well, I was born in 79, so I grew up in the 80s.
Okay. And then 90s
Yeah.
for you. Yeah. Okay. And then 2000s for me. I just think that needs to be said for time frame wise with technology and stuff like that. But
Yeah, and I'm the oldest and the wisest. So you guys just listen to whatever I say.
yeah. Well, I remember just like me and my dad, because like growing up in the same area, and then also my grandparents raised everyone. Well, they kind of grew up in the same area too, right?
Bellevue.
Yep. Redacted. But so they kind of grew up in the same area too, but just all of us like getting together and telling stories of just how everything changed. And then also my friends knowing, like my friend's parents knowing of his friends growing up. And then, like, oh, I went to school with that person, or that my friend's parent went to this high school and he went to that high school. And I think that like where we grew up was such like a small town feel, even for me too. And like now it's one of the like wealthiest and most populated cities outside of Seattle. But like growing up with that was so fun, because I have had friends since first grade that I still am in contact with now at 23 years old. And like my friend group that we all formed in middle school, and all the elementary schools came together, like we still have group chats and we get together all the time. And I know it's the same for him. Like he's connected with people from kindergarten that are like my aunts and uncles. And are you still in contact with people growing up?
Yeah, to some degree. We all kind of go our different ways as we get older. And, as you get older, you get the luxury of choosing your friends, I realized, based on who you've kind of become and
Yeah.
what you want to be. Well, when you're younger, you're friends by proximity, more or less. And
Yeah.
so I find that very interesting. But
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that like the social media age and internet like helped all of us stay in contact for like all that time. And yeah, I mean,
And even now.
well, yeah, for sure now. I mean, yeah, it's just cool, but
She can have a friend in New York or a friend in another country, and they can still talk right to each
FaceTime.
other. See, we didn't have that. So even with my second wife, or was it my eighth wife? No, my
Stop.
second wife. So in my second wife, she and I were like amazing best friends in high school. I was 10th grade. She was 9th grade. We hung out every weekend. We did everything together. We had classes together. We laughed all the time. It was awesome. And then one day I get to school and she's not there. Next day, she's not there. But we didn't have cell phones. I didn't know what her home number was because I only saw her at school. And then we'd go to lunch, like drive to lunch in the car and do whatever. So she was just gone. And that happened a lot growing up, where someone that you were friends with is just gone. Their family moved, and you have no idea ever how to find them again. That was what we grew up with.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, we had yellow pages. So you could look for a last name. Here's the problem. Your friend's name's Bucky, Bucky Daniels. You go under Daniels. There's no one Bucky because it's the kid. So it's only under the parent's name, and you don't know their parent's name. So
Right.
you'll never find your friend again.
Yeah, and there's a million of every last name.
Yeah.
You know, if their last name is Smith, it's
Our
just
Yeah.
you just write it off.
Our
before
books were
trying.
bigger than an
Good to know you.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah.
Our phone books were huge of everyone in the entire state. You remember that?
Oh, definitely.
All of Washington State in one book.
Do you guys remember payphones?
Oh, of
Do
course.
we remember?
It's one of the
Well,
funny.
Jordan, do you remember
I've
payphones?
never used one in my
No,
life.
it's one of the funniest scenes ever in
When would
Horrible
I?
Bosses when he's driving the car and he goes, "Where do you find a payphone anymore?"
I don't have them.
They had to go look for a payphone. They couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Here, this one is interesting for you, Jordan, because obviously there's no phones. Now is little Asya stranded in the neighbor village with a flat tire on her bicycle,
Jeez.
and it's getting dark. So how do you contact your parents? And you have no money because you're probably 10
Yeah.
and bought ice cream. So what we were able to do with payphones is you can type in a number before, and we called it an air call. You
We
have
call
that?
it collect call.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I could make collect calls to my parents, and then you had about 2 seconds to say your name. And in the 2 seconds, you would usually be like, "Mom, I can't get home. Mom, I have a flat tire." And then they could call back the payphone. So-
Without having to pay.
Yes.
Yeah.
If they
Smart.
had caller ID, which was really advanced.
We didn't have caller ID.
No.
No.
I mean, maybe it went both ways, but
Yeah.
after all, maybe I called 3 times to be like, "Flat tire, pick me up, church, this town,"
Have you
and they would just show up.
Talking in code.
Have you seen that commercial? There was a commercial, I think it was in the 90s, from like 1-800-COLLECT, that was in his message. He just said, "I had a baby, it's a boy." You know, it was a joke. Yeah, everyone knew that's how you got around it. And then you just hang up, right? Free message.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was my favorite.
So we had a thing too. This will blow you guys away. You might remember it when we got call waiting.
Oh,
The first time we got call waiting. So this is what used to happen. Doot, 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 doot. Busy signal.
Oh, yes.
Because we only could call from a landline. House to house. Well, if someone's on the phone, it was busy. There was no way to call through on your cell phones now. You could get like 20 people calling you. It'll show you everyone trying to call you while you're talking to someone, right?
Yeah.
Or texting you. Well, what we had was this miracle breakthrough called call waiting, where you could hear while you're talking this beep in the phone to go, brr,
Yes.
brr, brr,
Yes.
and you're like, oh, and then what did we hung up.
we
had to
you
hit the
literally
hang up.
hang up
You
and
hang
then it
up,
switches.
and it switched, and then you go hello, and there's the new person,
Yeah.
and then hold on, and you hang up, and it goes back to your original person again.
Hey, Greg, do you
Oh.
remember sometimes if they were done calling before you answered, I'd hang up and I just hung up on everyone. Yeah, that was a problem.
Or you think you're like, dude, thank God, because I'm sick of talking to
Oh,
that.
And
and,
then
you
talking
didn't
to them.
switch over
Oh,
yet.
Yeah, you didn't switch.
Yeah.
That's so good.
We had to install a little button on the side of our phone that was the that was the hold button.
Hold
actually.
button. Yeah,
I forgot about
I'm talking
that.
call waiting,
Yeah,
where
call
someone
waiting.
could finally call in without it getting a busy signal. So, and the reason it changed was from emergencies. So, it was so many emergencies where people couldn't get through because someone was on the phone. They had to figure out a technology to allow someone to call through a busy line where there was only one receiving and one
So if
What
you
if-
were
Sending
calling
out.
911, there could have been a busy line.
Yes.
That's nasty.
Yes.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know you could text 911 now?
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's try it.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
Should we just say
it's
hi?
like for instances where you can't like
yeah, you're deaf.
verbal.
Or,
or you're
Yeah.
kidnapped or you whatever.
Oh
like,
yeah, that's a great
I mean,
idea.
Yeah.
or you can literally not hear or speak.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, you can
And then they
text
can
911
ping and
now.
find you
Mhm.
That's-
with your phone.
Yeah.
That's
My
crazy.
friend
It's a
yeah,
great idea.
like 2 weeks ago, she thought someone was in her house, so she texted 911
Yeah.
Wow.
and someone came.
I actually didn't even know about that.
Yeah, you can text 911. It's
Huh.
great. It's great.
That's why we have the Gen Zs here
Yeah.
I love it.
to explain all this to
No,
us.
going back to just like growing up and stuff, I want to hear about everyone's high school experience because when iPhones were full fledged, and it was again, I grew up in like upper middle class area, so a lot of people had like iPhones.
And BMWs.
Yeah. But then also just like issues with in high school, we had a lot of
We didn't have a BMW. Okay, sorry. We didn't.
no, I had a freaking Jeep Wrangler and it was sick.
What? Jeep Wrangler. That's awesome.
I know, I'm so stupid. I got rid of it. But
It's my favorite.
yeah. But yeah, so just like I remember there was a lot of I was introduced to like weed and alcohol early middle school. And it wasn't even like from my brother. Like it was from like my friends' siblings. And he knows this. I got in trouble in middle school because I smoked weed for the first time.
Middle school.
How old
I
are you in
know.
middle
How old?
school?
Like 12, 13. It was young. Like
This is the
looking
first
back,
I'm hearing of this.
It's not. I've already
You're
I've
grounded.
already been in trouble from this. But no,
You
like
did?
I think remember Nick accidentally told you? I think he actually told you.
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Anyway, my brother ratted on me. But yeah, I remember like that. I remember I saw the white thing you put in your nose for the first time, 9th grade. I was
What?
14 years old.
Where?
Cocaine?
That's
Yes.
nuts.
Yeah, at
How?
a upperclassman's house.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Wow.
like I know. Yeah, I didn't partake, but like I just remember growing up in that kind of area, like the parents were for the most part were so uninvolved. A lot of people of my friends, like, their parents worked all the time or Boeing and, tech started to move in. So like Facebook, Google, everything like
Microsoft.
yeah, Microsoft, huge, like ton of Microsoft families. And then with that money. So, and then a lot of my friends' moms didn't work and, that was some other things. But yeah, like I remember just growing up in that kind of area, like especially in high school, like it was like pills. Like a lot of like people I knew were like, abusing Xanax and like Percocets and stuff like that. And then like weed and alcohol was like lower tier. And then like it was like cocaine and all this other stuff. And it was like, getting introduced to that at 14 years old. Luckily, I was like
good
never
child.
curious. Like that was my thing is like I had so many friends that were just curious. Like I had a friend one time try his dog's medication, like, and
Huh.
he was like blacked out for like 16 hours. But
This friend is currently in rehab.
no, literally though, like luckily though, I think that the good part of that is so many of us got it out of our system, like so young that now like a lot of my friends don't struggle with any substance issues, because we were exposed to it so young and like some people did it and some people had issues with it. And, I had friends go to rehab or whatever, but
You kind of see it and you don't
Yeah,
have
like-
to try it yourself.
yeah, because I remember like talking once I got to college, like I had friends from my high school that went to college with me. And I remember we would tell our stories like in high school and they'd literally be like, where the hell did you grow up? Like, what are these stories? Like, it's crazy.
Sorry, but I
Sounds like
raised her in a
Hollywood.
drug-infested neighborhood.
No.
But-
No, it wasn't like,
It's
yeah.
more like Hollywoody kind of.
It was.
in
It was.
this
It was
area.
rich people drugs.
Yeah.
Like, and it was weird. It was like you
Huh.
knew who you could get cocaine from. You knew who you could get weed from. Like, it was just yeah, growing up in that area was so weird because a lot of parents just turned a blind eye. And then from that, like, kids would take from their parents or whatever. And, you know, and then we'd have parties. Like, we'd have so many parties. And I remember, like, they were big ragers too. And, like, you know, sometimes the cops would come and then whatever. But, like,
This is so American.
yeah, like, I just vividly remember that. Like, just everyone was like really wild. But then now I'm like, you know, I'm still in contact with so many people like that I graduated with, and everyone's doing great because I think we had that time to just like get it out of our system. No one really got in trouble. We were introduced to it so young, but I think it's
Germany
like growing
is
up in
very
Germany.
similar.
Like,
Yeah, I remember, I feel like I scared a lot of my friends away from alcohol because my first blackout was at 13 and a half on New Year's Eve, but it was totally unexpected because all my girlfriends, we celebrated at one friend's house and their parents were celebrating somewhere else, and it was just us girls. We were like 13 to 14, 5 girls. And our moms were very sweet, and they thought, ooh, we give our kid a bottle of champagne so they can cheers. Well,
They're
five
13-year-olds?
hold on. One bottle for 5 13-year-olds. Whatever. It's Germany.
Yeah.
But here's the
Easy.
problem. It wasn't just one mom who had that thought.
so you collected them?
We had probably 4 bottles of champagne.
Oh my God.
And so we did that, and then we went outside to, you know, do the crackers and rockets. And there was more kids from the neighborhood, and they all stole their parents' booze. Oh, so there is me, little Asia, probably 12:05, lying under my friend's bed, puking her soul out, while my 4 girlfriends sit around me screaming, calling their parents, being like, we don't
She's
know.
dying.
Yes. So none of them touched alcohol until they were probably 17. I was good with that. And so, I mean, I really got it out of my system at that point.
That's awesome.
And
That's a
other
great
than
way.
that-
We should do that to kids when they're young. As all the parents, when we don't want them to be near any alcohol, we all pretend like and start throwing down, get like white foam to come out of your mouth. Go, this is what happens when you drink.
Scare them
Yeah.
straight.
But
I'm
I mean,
never
hire-
drinking.
Hire a good attorney ahead of time.
No, I mean, it really does like take like 1 or 2 times
Yeah.
to see your friend like that or you, and you're just like,
and
no.
and same with me with weed. I took a hit of a joint and I was just puking my soul out.
greened
So
out.
that was done for a few years afterwards. And then, but I did steal my grandma's smokes.
I stole alcohol from him once.
Yeah, I mean, we knew where the liquor,
Shouldn't be much alcohol in the house, though.
the liquor
We
cabinet.
had a full bar. It was sick.
Oh,
Did you
from the
take
new
sips?
house.
Yeah.
From the house
Yes.
they bought.
And then one time I felt really bad. I blacked out the day before Father's Day,
Oops.
and I was puking all the next day. And I said I had food poisoning, but I'm sure
Oh, I remember
you
that.
probably knew what was going
Oh,
on.
No, I didn't at all. I thought you had food poisoning. I felt bad. I got her soup and broth.
Saltines.
Well, it
Saltines and
worked.
Sprite.
Yeah, but I was just so hungover. I felt really bad. That was a bad daughter moment. But
Oops.
I like
Okay, I've
watching
never
your
had-
dad's face.
I've never had
As
a
I'm
Father's Day
talking.
anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
oh, what drama? But yeah, like what was really interesting to me for like my own personal growing up was I primarily lived in my dad's house with my older brother. Okay, and looking at it, you would probably think like, oh, like I had all this freedom, you know, whatever. Like I just ran amok, whatever. The people who had like full families, 2 parents at homes, like those were like my crazy friends. Like, and they were like my dad always, I think he did a great job of just being like,
A little bit
Like,
passive, but
well,
not too much.
yeah, and like kind of instilling like a fear early of being like, you have to tell me the truth. Like we have this thing where it says like we always say swear on my love, and that means like you cannot lie. So like if he were to ask me something,
Yeah.
he'd be like, you know, he'd ask me, and then
Did
if
you
he
ever
kinda-
have a party
Yeah.
at
Yes, I had a party
My-
at our house.
Swear on our love?
Yeah, exactly like that. Like I had to. It was like this thing of like. It was disappointment, you know. It was like I
Well,
didn't
you
want to.
don't lie.
Well, exactly, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to disappoint you. But like, I remember, like, you know, we'd be at my friend's house and they would just be lying like up the shit with their like their parents, and I'm just like, oh my god. Like, also, he was like a crazy kid, so it was like everything.
He already
You already
expected it.
knew. Like you were too smart. I remember one time it was like when hookah pens came out, like pre-vapes, like hookah pens, and they had a little red dot that like lit up at the end. But anyways, it was middle school, and we were all like in the basement room, and we were all like ripping hookah pens and whatever. And then my dad comes in, and the room is just like fog, like you cannot see. And he goes, "What is going on down here?" And I go, "Oh, we blew out some candles." And he was just like, "Knock it off," and just like shut the door. But like, it was, I think a lot of my friends' parents were square, like growing up. And I think it was nice to have, I mean, it wasn't nice. Like I couldn't get away with anything, but like, I also knew I couldn't get away with anything. So I didn't try. Like, I also wasn't rebellious.
DJ, what about you?
Yeah.
I was always a good kid. I was more of an
Yeah,
adrenaline junkie.
you were inventing things.
Yeah, definitely. I was building stuff, and I mean,
I love it.
we really only saw maybe alcohol once in a while. Remember that I grew up in a neighborhood that was predominantly Mormon, right?
Yeah, but
So-
hold off. You're a skater boy. So when did that start?
Yeah, but skaters
Yeah,
don't
it had
drink.
nothing to do with that. I never
No
drank.
cigarettes, no weed, nothing?
No.
No, skaters are
So-
diehard about the skate, man.
Our skaters were chain smokers in the park
got
sitting by the
German
Hof
Yeah, but you're
skaters.
Germany. I started smoking in Germany. That's
You said,
who taught me how to
I have
smoke was
4-5
Germans.
cigarette.
Yeah. Cigarette.
Yeah. Cigarette beta.
Okay.
So I didn't know that skaters in America were sober. So
no,
go ahead.
I mean, they're not, but
No,
you
but-
remember we were in a clean neighborhood, and none of our parents had alcohol in the house. None.
Were you Mormon?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
But your
But-
parents didn't drink.
His mom is a health nut.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think they didn't drink just to be a good example, because I know my dad had parties, you know, in some of his older houses, especially in college, and because his college friends told me they'd walk into the kitchen during his parties and it would be like above your shoe height and standing beer just in the
God.
kitchen, you know. So and his friend was a police officer.
Jeez.
Sorry, Chris. His friend was a police
What's
officer.
his last name?
Yeah, right.
What's his
Which
badge number?
department?
Name and badge number,
And
please.
when the police would come to the door, he would be wearing his police uniform, wasted, you know, not tucked in probably. And I heard
Did he
a
have any
story.
perps with him?
No, I heard a story of his buddies coming to the door to shut their party down, and he was hanging on the door frame, swinging around all drunk, saying, "Boys, we're good here." And I think they left.
Yeah.
You know, that was a
Wow.
different era.
Yeah.
50s, 60s, I guess. 60s.
That reminds me of in the 80s in Spokane where I went to college. And I had a buddy that was on the Spokane Police Department. He was an officer. And I would throw the biggest bashers at my house. I had a rental house. And I would have these huge parties. And then I would have him come by at a certain time at night and turn his lights on. So all the neighbors thought we got busted.
That's so nice.
And then he would come in, hang out for a while. He wouldn't drink. He was legit, but then he would leave. And I was underage.
Oh, wow.
But that was a different time. No one, I mean, my goodness, we still had metal on our cars back then. Like you're still driving a 1979, a 1977 Honda hatchback.
But finishing off the police part real quick. If you live in a village, you know the sheriff. And the sheriff was my friend's dad.
Yeah.
So,
You can
Yeah.
Which
do
is
it.
great. It's good and bad.
yeah. Well,
It's great to know him, but it's all bad because you can't get away with anything.
Well, yeah,
We-
everything comes back.
We
Yeah.
had one kid in our class who I think had a crush on her, and he had the hardest time ever because the dad was always on his butt. He got arrested and busted all the time. So it can
bad.
go both ways in a village. You better be friends with a
Yeah.
cop's daughter.
Kind of like small town America now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
So-
still a lot of towns like that.
Yeah. Well, going to school in Bozeman, Montana, like I had friends that grew up there. And it's like you were saying like earlier, is there any place that is still like that, how we grew up kind of? Like take away the technology, Montana, 100%. Like it's all still like that small town vibe and everything. And
Outside, fishing, skiing.
yeah, but
hunting.
I mean, granted, like I hear a lot like, oh, you're like, your age group's like never outside, like screenagers. You're always on your phone, like, ugh.
Ooh,
But it's like-
screenagers?
Yeah, you never heard that?
No.
Screenagers?
Oh, what's that?
like a
Well,
like a teenager
teenager.
on your like a screenager.
What's screenager?
They grew up on a
Like-
screen.
Oh, like the
iPad,
screen
phone.
on the phone.
Yeah.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
I'll teach you guys so many things.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah, but anyways, so yeah, like you hear it like all the time. And then especially like through high school and iPhones and everything like that. Granted, a lot of it was like true. We were on our phones a lot, but like freshman year of high school, behind our high school was this swamp. And we built this place called Gilligan's Island.
I remember with the bridge and
Yeah,
the ladders
we built
back
it.
there.
So like for one summer, we're 14 years old. Like we're in high school, like whatever. For one summer, we all like I don't know where we would get wood. I'm gonna be honest. I think we would steal it from like places
you
or
took it from my job
yeah,
sites.
probably from like job sites and stuff. Like, well,
Yeah.
I would ask for sure for that, but like, yeah, and we would all our guy and girlfriends. My friend group still is like there's like 15 of us, and it's guys and girls, and we're just like brothers and sisters. But yeah, Gilligan's Island, and we built a bridge over this swamp, and then there's like a little island out there, and it's all covered in like wetland and trees and everything, and we built a tree house. Like we built all these things.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
I remember
going out there.
my cousin is like 3 years younger than me, maybe a little more. And I remember asking him, I was like, did you guys ever go to
Cooper?
Gilligan's? Yeah. I was like, did you guys ever go to Gilligan's? And he's like, what is Gilligan's? And I was like, it's a thing we built like, by the baseball field, whatever. And he goes, oh, yeah. Like, we know about that. And it was just cool. Like,
That it's still there?
yeah. And we would go play at playground. I mean, we were driving and we would go and like play mulch at playgrounds and like, I don't know. I think because me and all my friends that I grew up with in this town, we all grew up playing outdoors and like doing that thing, like those things, like we never stopped that. Like going through high school and then going into college and like now still, like we never stopped doing that. It just, obviously like social media and stuff came into play. But I think like being my age and growing up like that, and then all of a sudden like, smartphones and social media and everything's introduced, like we still loved that first part. So we kept it into like us getting older. And just like one thing I know, like my niece and nephew are, they're like 5 years old and younger, but they know how to operate FaceTime. Like, and they're like talking with me, walking around the house, like holding it and whatever. And we played Nintendo Switch and they like knew what they were doing. And I was like, this is crazy. Like,
Let's go to another.
How about siblings? Did you all?
Yeah.
Do you all have siblings? I know DJ does.
Yeah.
Jordan. What
I
about you,
have-
Greg?
I grew up with 4 of us.
I grew up with 4, but I have 2 half siblings.
Oh.
So I have a half sister and a half brother. And then Nick is like both mom and dad. So yeah, it was like sometimes I would be in a house with like 4 siblings, and then sometimes I'd be in a house with just me and Nick. And then,
Did you hang out with them?
oh yeah,
Were they your friends or
me and
were
my
there
little
more?
brother, Nick, we were all trying to just raise each other. Like there were so many years where we just like did not know what we were doing, and like we were just trying to raise each other. But like with that, there's a lot of fighting and like trying to. Now looking back, I'm like, oh, we were just like trying to make sense of what we were feeling. But yeah, like me and my little brother were really close and still are. But I remember like my oldest sister would beat up on Nick, and then Nick would beat up on me, and then I would beat up on Justin, my little brother, because it was just like,
The chain reaction.
yeah, it was a chain reaction. Poor dude.
Yeah.
My little brher, he has no one to beat up on.
Just the cat.
Yeah, right. Like it was just like that was definitely the thing. But I don't know. We got closer as we got older, for sure.
It's so interesting how my sister is 11 years older than me. Also, my half sister from my mom's first marriage. But yeah, it feels good to hear other people's stories because she definitely gave me a hard time as a kid.
Yeah.
And even being older than me, I just have probably like 3 really vivid things I remember. One was, so obviously she's older and she had her first boyfriend. So I was this little kid, probably 5, and I would spy through her peephole. And then I remember her getting cotton balls and just stuffing the people. She didn't notice the first 5 times, but
Yeah.
then it's that. And then beyond that, she would always call me a crybaby. but I was always very emotional. We talked about that in a previous story podcast.
I learned how to fake cry to get my siblings in trouble.
Oh.
My sister taught me that one.
Wow.
It's really good to hear all this.
Well, and like
how to survive childhood.
honestly, like my cousins were like my other siblings.
My whole life was a lie. Everything I told my dad was a lie.
No, he knows all of this. Our family lived within 30 minutes of each other, both my dad's side and my mom's side. So like my cousins were like my siblings, like
Yeah.
always.
And you guys still are.
Yeah, and still are. Like it
Closest
just-
cousins I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like they have their own group chat.
yeah.
And they talk like every day.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I can relate to that too because I have two cousins. They're both my guy cousin is a year or two older than me, and my girl cousin is 6 months younger than me. But my guy cousin Arna, he's kind of my brother too. And I remember, see, this is funny because it's not very present in your head all
Yeah.
the time. But I remember he had a good friend, and both of the boys would beat me up like I was their little sister, just playing soccer in my face, just elbow checking me.
Yeah.
So they make me tough.
I
yeah.
had an older sister who I'm very close to. My two younger brothers. My younger brother, closest to my age, is only 14 months younger than me. And then my other brother's 4 years younger. And to this day, the 14-month difference of that brother, he and I still are together like every week.
Yeah.
We see each other all the time. We golf together. We go on trips together. We ski. I mean, we just do everything still to this day. My sister and I were really close. We are the ones who lived downstairs growing up in the basement. So she and I, basically lived down there for our whole childhood. So we obviously were going to be closer.
Yeah.
And then my youngest brother, he's more of the loner. He's more of the chilled brother who didn't like confrontation, kind of flew under the radar, watched how we always got in trouble, and then he avoided all of that by maneuvering and making sure he didn't do the same things. I remember he had this big bag of weed that he had stuffed under his mattress when he was in like high school, and my mom found it, and he told her that it was sage for a science project.
Did it work?
Yeah, she didn't know what weed was.
She was so innocent.
She still, I don't think, has ever
She's still
seen or
never
smoked
seen
or
it.
nothing.
Yeah. And I know now they've done CBD
Yeah, but
to help them sleep.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
never
But how funny is that?
And then
I mean,
she
a
cooked
huge
dinner
bag.
with it.
exactly.
Yeah, she's like, well, I need some of that sage.
Oh, my sister ate one of my wheat brownies.
Oh my
I was already in college, and a friend and I, we made wheat brownies, and then I went to college and I forgot that they were home, and my mom served them to my sister, my uncle, herself. And
Okay, that's awful.
my
that's
my
hilarious.
sister did not go to work the next day, and she's a CEO, and my uncle is retired, so he was having a
God.
he was having a great day, and my mom was. I think she called me the next day. She's like, "Asya, the brownies." The
Wait, did they
brownies
eat the whole brownie?
Yeah, I don't know how many were left.
Oh,
but-
so they were tripping then.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
they
yeah.
were so high.
That's so funny.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be horrible.
Well, they were. Sorry, everyone, but it sounded like it wasn't that bad.
They had a good time.
Yeah.
First,
the most
first time I had it edible,
Oh.
marijuana edible, years and years and years ago, the kids were really little, and I don't ever do stuff. I don't take stuff like that. Like anything that is man-made like that, I get freaked out about, so I won't do it. Like I've never tried cocaine or any of those drugs. Like I just have never consciously tried to do those. Well, this is one of my best friends, and he said, here's this little taffy. He goes, it's super cool. You won't freak out. It's just really mellow, and it'll just calm you down. You'll sleep really good. I'm like, oh, that sounds great.
No.
So I ate this thing, this taffy. I don't know if Jordan will remember this. This was
No.
horrible. So
Wait, we
About-
were alive?
yes. So about 2 or 3 hours go by. And now I'm back at home. And the kids are there with me. And I start to cry. And I'm telling them that I've been an awful dad and that I think I'm dying. And I thought I was dying.
I don't remember that.
I thought it was my last night on earth, and I've got each of them on each side of my cat. And my daughter she goes, "Dad, you've been a good dad."
Oh no,
And-
this is bad.
And I had no idea that I was tripping out from this taffy thing. So
You caused trauma.
it was the worst experience ever. I really thought I was dying.
Okay,
and
kids, everyone who listens,
do not touch
do
them.
not
Oh my
take
gosh.
drugs.
So I get up in the morning, totally fine. Then I realize I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill my buddy. So I call him and I go, "Hey, what did you lace that thing with?" And he goes, "What?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Dude, I thought I was dying last night. I told my kids goodbye." Like I told them goodbye. I am on my way to heaven. Hopefully. I'm not going to hell. I hope I'm going to heaven because I was dying and they're crying and I'm saying goodbye.
Oh, no.
And he goes, "Well, how much did you take of it?" And I go, "Are you serious?" I go, "I ate the whole thing." He goes, "Oh no." "You're only supposed to eat a quarter of it."
Oh.
And I go, "Well, you didn't tell me that. You just told me to eat this thing, that it's great, and I'll sleep like a baby."
In heaven.
So anyway, he goes, "I am so sorry. I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Dude, I literally thought I was losing my breath. I thought I was dying last night. It was awful." So those are the things that happen to me that keep me from ever trying that stuff anymore.
Good.
Yeah.
My. Well,
What about
DJ,
yours?
when
Do
did
you
you
have
have your
siblings?
first? Me?
No,
No,
DJ.
DJ, do you have siblings?
Yeah.
How many?
I have a younger sister.
Mm.
She's 8 years younger than I am.
Oh, did you guys hang out?
No.
Yeah.
See, you know? Yeah. We really had two separate lives.
Yeah,
but
too far of
why?
a spread.
Yeah.
Is it the age difference? Is it
Yeah,
the
girl,
upbringing?
boy, age difference. I was in college, and she's in high school.
No,
Yeah.
junior
No.
high.
Or, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you can't even talk about it.
Yeah, you can't relate.
Well,
Yeah.
you could be like a cool big brother, like
Well, that's what she says about him.
yeah, like
But he
you
also
drive her places, hang out, do things like
I
that.
bet you
Did
kind of
ever
were
do
like a
that?
second dad.
Or did you just not care about this kid?
Oh no, she spied on her first date and those things. He was a
Aw,
brother for
good.
sure.
Yeah, and I brought the posse that I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So
To make sure.
Yeah, we had a group, and they were at the Barnes and Noble bookstore when those existed, and I
Yeah.
still remember they're in the back where there's a little cafe.
Mhm.
And they're reading on their first date?
No, they were just kind of like getting some drinks,
Yeah.
Italian sodas or something like that, and
Right.
then we all show up and yeah.
What are you
cute.
doing with my sister?
I think it was just more of a presence from a distance, and
Yeah.
that was enough because we were 8 years older and multiple people.
Yeah.
It was a little terrifying.
That would be scary
So
for any
you-
dude.
Yeah.
You were kind of an only child.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted a sibling. I wanted
Yeah.
someone to go through life with, right? And so, we're older now, and, age closes as you get older. So obviously we're friends now, which is great. But that probably took until we were, I don't know, at least she was in her 20s or
Yeah.
something like
yeah.
that.
I mean, same for me.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
probably
11 years.
21. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we went to the same college. So we had that in common, and our parents went to our rival school.
Mm.
So we always had that little bond, us versus parents.
Cute. Love that.
But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I can't think of any crazy stories or anything around that,
Well, it's
I
such
remember-
a big age difference.
Yeah, I
like-
helped raise her and,
Yeah.
warm her bottle up on the stove
Yeah.
and carry her around and watch her every night. If my parents wanted to go on a walk, they do that kind of for health and maybe emotional reasons now that I'm older, just going on a walk every night for at least an hour. So, yeah, I was the babysitter and
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome though.
For your parents.
No, I mean it's awesome for you because you're kind of like, and it's awesome for your little sister because she had a big brother that would take care of her too. So that's a neat thing. Listen, when she gets older and you got older, you guys still have a bond there that's insane because you had to, you were like her uncle or her caregiver in a sense. So you guys have a bond. You just couldn't have a relationship that was about normal brother and sister that are closer in age because you're doing this, driving a car, and she's playing with Barbies.
Yeah.
Yeah, very difficult for that gap of 8
Men
years.
and women.
But
Hey, yeah, it is.
I will say that I think she always knew that if she ran into any trouble that she could call me or I would defend her or, things
That's
of that
what I mean.
nature.
You guys had a bond. That is huge.
Well, my sister's 8 years older than me, but we're all 4 years apart. So like we had that. My older brother was like our middle.
You had a little buffer in between.
Yeah, but then, my sister 100% helped raise us. Like, that 8-year difference is huge. Now we're super close just as friends. Like, I don't feel like that hierarchy anymore, but yeah, for sure.
Crazy.
Well, the next thing we need to do is get our siblings on here, take it to the next level and dig in and see what we each remember from different points of view.
That'd be cool.
I think that my sister has a much different view of probably childhood than I did.
Yeah. No, I know all of my siblings do. We're all 4 years apart, and 3 of us have different dads. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that puts you together, like makes your bond stronger because you can relate over other things.
Well, let's get this one wrapped up. This was fun to talk about our experiences from being young till graduation or going to college. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah. I mean, it was good just like talking about, I think all of us have very similar upbringings, which is really cool.
It's kind of interesting. Now I'm curious if we invite a guest or whoever listens to this, send us messages if your childhood was completely different because, I mean, obviously most people I know grew up under the similar circumstances and I feel like everyone we relate to probably has similar experiences. So tell us about something that's totally unrelated.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to hear it.
No, it was cool. It's cool that we could all relate on something.
Nice. And I bet in the future we'll probably tell more detailed stories about certain events or whatnot. This was just a
signs of
blanket
DJ, we would have had fun in the woods
introduction.
growing up.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You would have had to figure out the right way, though, to design our forts.
Yeah, you know me too well.
You'd say, okay, there's too much load on this, so we're going to have to add a few more joists, and then it'll be safe for all of us to stand on
and
this.
Insulated and tight, and this has to last for at least 30 years so I can bring my future child here.
We need to cover it in sap for longevity.
Awesome.
No fire around this. It'll go up like a matchstick.
Oh, well, no, it was good. It's interesting and fun, and thank you all, and yeah.
Thanks for having us
Jordan's
here.
signing out.
We'll talk to you guys, everyone.
Gen-XYZ signing out. This is our new background.
I love it. I love this new logo. I think it's awesome.
Very cool.
Good job, DJ.
Anyways.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Real topics out of bounds, 3 generations deep, we're breaking new ground.